Yo, what is up, guys? So Patagonia just announced that they're going to be going through an ownership change, and we're going to take a look at an article that kind of goes into a little bit more detail into why they're doing this and how they're actually going to execute. I think it's pretty interesting based on the headline that I saw so far, and it seems like Patagonia is kind of leading the way in terms of trying to create a more sustainable business practices and creating a pathway for other companies to follow in their footsteps. So let's just jump right in. All right, so this article is titled Patagonia Founder Gives the Company Away. Those of you guys that don't know, Patagonia is obviously the world famous outdoor wear company. They typically procure a lot of their equipment, a lot of their raw materials from sustainable sources. And of course, their CEO and founder, Yvon Chouinard, I think, he's well known for starting this company literally from his garage. I remember I was reading an article or a book about him, and he talked about how he would create his own belaying equipment because he really enjoyed climbing. And so he would stitch these together, put them together in his backyard, and started to make equipment for other climbers and other enthusiasts. And of course, his company grew, and it's now this billion-dollar enterprise where everyone from tech bros to Wall Street bankers are now wearing their clothes. And, it's something that I've seen in my career in tech where a lot of these big companies will procure a lot of their swag from Patagonia and then, of course, attach their own company logo or brand to it. And of course, Patagonia is known for giving back to the community, practicing corporate social responsibility, and doing a lot for the community. So it's pretty interesting how now the founder is deciding to give his company away. But of course, let's dig into the details. All right. So the article says Patagonia's billionaire founder is transferring ownership of the outdoor apparel company he built almost 50 years ago to a trust and a nonprofit organization. Says that the radical move is in keeping with his long-standing disregard for business norms. And we'll see Patagonia, which is currently valued at roughly $3 billion, pour all of its future earnings into organizations that combat climate change and protect the environment. I don't think that's a surprise. Patagonia and the founder has always been very outspoken about how a lot of businesses today are destroying the environment. They're abusing the resources and not replenishing them at a rate that's sustainable. And so I think what Patagonia has at its core mission of actually producing products that isn't going to negatively impact the environment is something that I think is very admirable. Now let's take a look at the letter that Yvon sent out to his shareholders. Earth is now our only shareholder. And it's got a video playing in the background with Yvon. I think it makes sense to promote him and his values, which I don't blame him, because I think most companies are now just looking to make a profit these days. So let's take a look here. It says here, I never wanted to be a businessman. I started as a craftsman, making climbing gear for my friends and myself, then got into apparel. As we began to witness the extent of global warming and ecological destruction and our own contribution to it, Patagonia committed to using our company to change the way business was done. If we could do the right thing while making enough to pay the bills, we could influence customers and other businesses and maybe change the system along the way. We started with our products using materials that cause less harm to the environment. We gave away 1% of sales each year. We became a certified B Corp and a California benefit corporation, writing our values into our corporate charter so that they would be preserved. More recently, in 2018, we changed the company's purpose to we're in business to save our home planet. So I'm not going to read through this entire thing, but I think you guys can get the point. Basically, he's coming out and telling his shareholders, the owners of the company, that they're going to change the structure of the business so that we can save our home planet. Now, this is a pretty ambitious goal, right? Especially for one company to stand on its own 2 feet and stand up for the planet. There's a lot of other companies out there that might give lip service, or they might say, oh, we're going to recycle and reuse and all this other stuff. But, is it really having an impact? I think what Patagonia is doing here is that they're kind of putting their money where their mouth is, not only donating money, but also creating an ownership structure where the leadership and the board of directors will be able to have a little bit more influence and control over the direction of the company. And it looks like they're going to continue to take those resources, put it back into causes that will continue to maintain their values and also just keep their team employed. Because I'm pretty sure they're not going to want to hurt their business in any way. Ultimately, a business's goal is to make money. And I think what Yvon is trying to do is, yes, that is one of our goals, but we also want to add another goal, and that's to actually create a world that our kids can have. Going on later into the letter, another path was one option was to sell Patagonia and donate all the money. All right, so it looks like he's considered some other options here. But we couldn't be sure a new owner would maintain our values or keep our team of people around the world employed. Okay, that makes sense. Another path was to take the company public. What a disaster that would have been. All right, so he's got a sense of humor, and he knows that taking companies public typically leads to shareholders saying, hey, I want to maximize profits. I want to sell as many widgets as possible because ultimately shareholders want a return. They want dividends. They want a higher share price. So I think Yvonne definitely has done his homework and research and considered all the different pros and cons. Truth be told, there were no good options available, so we created our own. Instead of going public, you could say we're going purpose. Oh, I like that. Instead of extracting value from nature and transforming it into wealth for investors, we'll use the wealth Patagonia creates to protect the source of all wealth. And then he goes into detail about how it works. So 100% of the company's voting stock transfers to the Patagonia Purpose Trust, created to protect the company's values, and 100% of the non-voting stock has been given to the Holdfast Collective, a nonprofit dedicated to fighting the environmental crisis and defending nature. The funding will come from Patagonia. Each year, the money we make after reinvesting in the business will be distributed as a dividend to help fight the crisis. All right, so is there a crisis? Is there an environmental crisis where we are using the world's resources at an unsustainable rate? I mean, you can look at the news on a daily basis and you'll hear, stories about how we're exhausting the world's fish supply. And now they're having to create additional fish farms to make sure that people have enough fish to eat and so on and so forth. And so I think he does have a point here where there is a problem. We know that it's not sustainable. We know that population is continuing to grow year over year. And that at a certain point, we're going to run out of natural resources to support everyone who lives on this planet, or consequently reduce our quality of life, which is obviously not good either. It's been nearly 50 years since we began our experiment in responsible business, and we are just getting started. If we have any hope of a thriving planet, much less a thriving business, 50 years from now, it is going to take all of us doing what we can with the resources that we have. This is another way we found to do our part. We can save our planet if we commit to it. All right. So, and it looks like there's some FAQs down here, some questions and answers. Who's going to own Patagonia? All right. So a lot more details down here in the FAQ. I highly recommend you guys check it out if you have some time. But yeah, just my overall thoughts. I mean, Patagonia is a company that I highly respect. I have a ton of their clothes. I mean, I'm a loyal customer. I've spent anywhere from, $150 to $250 on jackets, on sweaters and hoodies and that kind of thing. Their clothes are super comfortable. They're super durable. You can throw them in the washer. It might shrink a little bit, but it's going to retain its function in keeping you warm. It's also very practical. It's very functional clothing. And so I think this is only going to help build its awareness and also help its PR image of, hey, if you buy from Patagonia, you're going to support a company that's giving back to the planet so that we can have a home to live on for many, many years. And I think that sells really well in the public eye. People are going to see this, news and media are going to carry these stories and help sort of give it free promos. So I think that's good. Now, in terms of the actual goal itself, it's super ambitious, right? I mean, trying to save the planet, is one company really going to be able to make a big difference? No. But I think Yvonne is a smart enough man where he knows that sometimes the biggest impact comes from the smallest changes. And this gesture of restructuring his company and making sure that the power resides in its founders and the key family members who are part of this trust, I think is one way to execute on that vision. Obviously, there's a lot more details here that I haven't gone into, but based on what I've read so far, I think this is a great move for Patagonia, for the planet, for its shareholders, also for its customers. I mean, as long as they can continue to do business, make money, stay profitable, support their employees, suppliers, their partners, and everyone else, I can almost see this as being a sort of a win-win-win situation for all the stakeholders involved. So kudos Patagonia for leading the way. I think, this all works out, and I will continue to support you guys by buying more Patagonia gear. And if you guys ever want to sponsor this channel, let me know and I will happily promote your products. That's my take on Patagonia switching their ownership structure. Let me know in the comments down below, guys, what you thought of this change, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.